So 1, 2, 3. I guess we can probably get started. While some people are still joining, first of all, thank you everybody for tuning in and listening to this webinar/live stream about UgCS Commander. So this is now happening on multiple platforms. So some of you are here on the Zoom platform, and some others you're probably watching on YouTube or on LinkedIn Live or Facebook Live. While some people are joining, I think we can go a bit over some general topics, and then we can already get more in detail of it. So the approximate duration I expect will be around 1 hour or so. And then also at the very end, I'll do a Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section. So the ones which will be on Zoom or YouTube, those I'll also sometimes answer over text. But I'll just try to answer most of them live, especially the ones from Facebook and LinkedIn. So yeah, in case you have any questions, if you're on Zoom, put them in the Q&A section. If you're anywhere else, just write in the comments. So this webinar live stream also is being recorded, and so the link to the recording will be sent to you afterwards, so to everybody registered, and it will also be published on our YouTube at UgCS TV. That's our channel. So yeah, then I guess let's get started with everything. So overall, I think let's start just by a very brief introduction to what it is we do, what's our company. I'm sure some of you already know, but I assume there's also probably some people who might be new. So we are SPH Engineering. We are based in Riga in Latvia, so in the EU. And we have been active in the world of drones since 2013, when the company was first created. And actually everything started from UgCS software. And so then on top of that, we built various other solutions. So we built Commander, Mapper. We also have drone show software for making drone shows. We have DroneGIS for data storage and sharing. And also we do various geophysical integration systems where we have true terrain following, which allows the drones to fly very, very low above the ground. So there we work with different techs such as GPRs, methane detectors, magnetometers, and various other stuff. So me, myself, I'm the product owner of UgCS, which also includes the UgCS Commander as well as Mapper. So I'll be talking about this part and mainly the Commander. But also I'll touch a bit upon UgCS, and so what are the advantages of using UgCS for your flight planning. So yeah, our company is quite becoming more and more international. So like I said, we've been based out of Latvia, but also now we're in the process of opening a branch in the USA, in San Antonio. And also we have a team of developers in Belgrade in Serbia. And so we also have resellers, partners in various different countries around the world. And the biggest market for us is, of course, North America. So then maybe to get started, let's start with a bit of an overview of what is UgCS, where it all started, and and sort of where we are now. So a bit of history. So this is actually how UgCS looked like back in 2013. This was when I joined, maybe even 2014. This was recently after I joined the company. And so, yeah, even actually then, since the very beginning, the software has been designed to work with multiple drones, and has been also designed actually originally as an OEM software for different drone manufacturers. So we always have had this approach to being able to control multiple drones with the software, and it also being universal, so that it supports various different drone platforms. And so that's where it all began, I guess you could say. So then moving onwards, so this is how the software looks now with the current interface. So we have quite a lot of different tools for flight planning. So you can do vertical flight plans, photogrammetry. A lot of our users also use lidar. Yeah, so And then I'll maybe cover a bit about what are the main features now, and then we'll jump into Commander. And for Commander, by the way, also I'll do a demo. So how the software works, and so for instance, how can you simulate multiple drones, and how can you use them simultaneously on a mission? So with UgCS, one of the great things is that you can fly a single route with any of the drones in your fleet. So this means if you have, let's say, a drone fleet that is a mix between, for instance, DJI Phantom, M300, as well as some other drones, so easily any route can be switched to whichever drone platform you need to use on that specific day. So for instance, if you have some flight plan, let's say, created for the for the Phantom, you can easily switch that to M300 and vice versa. And this goes for all the drones, including also non-DJI drones. The flights themselves, they can be planned using also various different tools. You can either manually create them, or for instance, here what you can see is that we have imported a 2D object, which is simply the border or for the outline of a certain area. So this could be property borders. These could be, for instance, locations where some underground pipelines are going through the ground. These could also be power lines. And so various things like that you can import into UgCS and then just either utilize them just for information during the flight, or you can also use them for flight planning. And so flight plans here actually can also be created from both KML as well as CSV files. So you can kind of automate that process as well if you wish. So you don't even need to manually click, especially since we know a lot of our users, they're using it for those kind of more complex missions. So then, of course, in those cases, you can automate that process. Also, all the routes and the missions, so they are firstly being stored, organized in UgCS, as well as all the telemetry that, so every time you fly with a drone, all the telemetry is being recorded. And so all these telemetry recordings, these flights are available in UgCS, and we have users who, for instance, export them also to other platforms. So we have integration with Drone Logbook, we have integration with Air Data, and so any of the flights done with UgCS can then later be exported to those platforms. And yeah, like I said, so we are also a solution which offers essentially a single platform for various different drones. So it doesn't matter if you use DJI drone or some non-DJI drone. So all of these can be used in the same platform. So from non-DJI, or what I also like to call open source drones. So these are all drones powered by Autopilot, PX4, Auterion. So we support a lot of them. So this includes Inspired Flight, Watts Prism drone, Whisper drones as well, FreeFly, so FreeFly Astro, AltX, as well as AceCar drones. So these various kinds of manufacturers, they're supported by us, and yeah, can be used in a single platform. They're also, by the way, all available on our website. So if you just want to go and check it out, then you can later. And yeah, so actually one of the reasons why we also kind of blew up is because of the terrain following, which we also are still continuing to develop. So we have multiple different modes of following the terrain. So we have this normal AGL, which has been already here for a while. Recently, we also added Smart AGL, which actually makes it possible to fly up even vertical surfaces. So if you, for instance, for your flights, have to import some digital elevation model, which also contains some very steep surfaces, the Smart AGL algorithm is able to keep a constant distance to the surface, even if it's vertical. While most other flight planning solutions, they simply, kind of do the flight plan just by checking the vertical distance right below the drone rather than to the closest point. And yeah, you can also fly according to the AMSL if you need that for some flights, and of course also with the rangefinder. So that's kind of a part of our integrated systems products that we do. And yeah, another thing is you can fly actually fully offline. So this means that any maps and elevation you can catch for offline use. Since UgCS, it's not running on it's not working in cloud typically. So usually people just install on their computers, and that's how they use it. So everything is fully locally installed. Yeah, so you can be fully in some remote locations. I mean, our team as well, we have traveled all around the world. So we've been to Greenland, Papua New Guinea, and various other places for expeditions where there's basically no internet coverage, working fully offline for multiple days on end. So yeah, software is kind of also designed for this application, and this goes for actually not only UgCS but also Commander, since Commander does build on top of that. And yeah, so single area which you can catch for offline use can be up to 100 square kilometers, and you can have multiple areas, so essentially as many as you need. Another feature is the vertical flight planning. So even though, again, not the topic of this discussion, but yeah, it's also one of the unique features we have. So if you need to scan some buildings, need to automate the building scans. So this also can be done with UgCS. So that's one of the advantages of flight planning in 3D. So this can be used for tower inspections, building facade inspections. We have people also inspecting near vertical rock cliffs to identify for the risk of rockfall, yeah, telecom towers, chimneys, so a lot of different applications here. And yeah, also we are, I'd say, one of the main solutions for guys who are flying with lidar currently. So we are compatible with, I'd say, almost every single lidar on the market. So this includes DJI L1, the recently released L2, for which we just now released support in the newer version. The Rock Robotics lidars, also a lot of our users are using them. Velodyne, Regal, Phoenix lidar, essentially any lidar which is mounted on a drone can be used with UgCS. And this goes for both DJI as well as Autopilot PX4 drones. In this specific example, in this data set, which you can see, this is actually data collected in Estonia, in Tartu. And this is a combination of both lidar data as well as drone bathymetry data, which was done over a lake. So a bit of an interesting project. And yeah, so here, essentially, if you take a look at all the products which we have, so we have from UgCS licenses, we have the Pro, Expert, and Enterprise license. We also have another product which is called the Mapper. So Mapper is just a lightweight software allowing you to do quick map processing in the field. And then there is Commander. So how does this all go together? So Commander actually, even though we're not usually advertising it like that, it's actually kind of, I'd say, top of the line license of UgCS. Because in Commander, effectively, there's no limit on how many drones you can connect. And of course, Commander license, it still runs, Commander runs in parallel to UgCS, so it's a separate application, but it also still uses UgCS server, GeoServer, and so on. But yeah, once you activate the Commander license, there is essentially no limit to how many drones you can use simultaneously. So you have customers who are using 10, 20, and even more drones with Commander. But yeah, now I think let's maybe get a bit more into in depth of the topic of today's webinar. I'll just quickly kind of go over if there are maybe already some questions. So just a reminder to everybody watching, if you want to ask something, then just feel free to ask in the Q&A here on Zoom, or also just drop us a comment in LinkedIn and YouTube, Facebook. So yeah, so I can see your comments and can answer them as well. So yeah, then going on about Commander. So let's maybe just start with the actual interface of Commander. So this is how it looks like. This typically runs in parallel to UgCS. And oh yeah, by the way, the question is about yellow scans. Yeah, yellow scan lidars are also supported. We are also working together with yellow scan. So yeah, any lidar, like I said, can be used with UgCS. So this also includes yellow scan. But yeah, going back to where I was. So yeah, this is the Commander interface. In here, what you can see. So firstly, all the drones are shown in this sort of like table where you can see the telemetry information from all of them. So here you can see the drone name, the assigned route. Then next is the mode. So also armed, disarmed states, and what flight mode is the drone in. So it's auto, manual mode, landing, return home. So all of this information is shown. Then the status if the drone is airborne, if it's in landing mode. You also see, of course, the altitude, vertical, horizontal speeds, battery levels, which is one of, I'd say, the most important aspects. And then, yeah, the GPS fix status and data link and other parameters as well. But I have flown personally with about more than 200 drones overall. And I'd say in this kind of interface, one of the main things you want to be looking at is the battery as well as the GPS status, because this is something that is, I'd say, the primary parameter if you want to make sure that everything is going smooth during the flight. And yep, you can, so the idea is the following, that with Commander, so first, when all of the routes are planned in UgCS, that then you can select each separate route for each drone, and I'll be showing this later also in the demo. So once you have them selected, then you calculate all the routes. Then next is you upload them to all the drones. So with Commander, you can actually, when you press on any of these commands, these are sent to all of the currently selected drones. So you can see that now all the rows, they are selected in green color. So this means that if you send any command, this will go through to all of the drones. So yep, you would then press one button, all the routes get uploaded to all the drones. And yep, the next is to take them up in the air. You press an arm and then auto mode, and off you go, essentially. If during the flight you need to, for instance, return any of the drones, then you just can quickly do clear all, select the drone that you need, and then issue, for instance, land command or return home command. You can also hold them at any point. And also there's a convenient timer, which you can kind of set up so that you can also time the location of each drone at certain points. So yep, going very quickly about sort of what's the order of execution of these tasks. So yeah, first you typically do the flight planning in UgCS. Next, you make sure that all the routes are assigned to each drone. You connect all the drones, obviously. And so there's different connection methods depending on what drone you use. So for guys who are using, for instance, open platform drones, so based on ArduPilot or PX4, so there typically would be either some radio data links, or with higher number of drones, these would be Wi-Fi modules on board the drones for the connection. And then for DJI drones, you'd simply connect them either through our UgCS for DJI app, or now with the newer DJI drones using the SkyApp mobile app. And yeah, so then you essentially, once you launch them, you monitor the real-time telemetry coming from them. So like I mentioned, one of the most important ones would be the battery level, altitude, and speed. And yeah, then you can also visualize all of them in a 3D environment. You can see proximity alerts if it automatically detects if a certain drone is moving towards another drone, and then it will issue a warning. And you can also kind of fine-tune these warnings. So you can, for instance, say, okay, so what should be the distance when the warning should be shown, just in case. And yeah, so you also get a lot of flexibility in the sense that you can pause missions, resume when you need, as well as land drones. We have one question. So it's about if one drone will be sent home, will it automatically avoid the others? So here the answer is so that no, currently it doesn't automatically avoid others. So it works in this following way. So once you, for instance, execute return home, you can monitor where the drone is. You'll get a warning if the system detects that it's kind of going towards or closer to another drone where that is. But you can always, of course, issue a hold command if you need to make the drone pause to where it's flying. And yeah, the proximity alerts, they are actually based on the software. So there's, of course, you can also mount some sensors on board the drones if you want to have some more sort of obstacle detection on them. But so currently by default with Commander, this is done using what's internally sort of on the software. So with all the telemetry information, the server is kind of making sure that the distance between drones is okay, that it's within limits. And if it detects that kind of one drone is moving towards the other one, then it will issue a message. Oh yeah, but video streaming also, I will mention about this in just a moment. So hang tight. So yeah, what are the applications of Commanders? Let's maybe go through these. Actually, one of the most currently popular ones for which our customers are using this is testing anti-drone systems. So for this, I would really love to be able to also share some real life, pictures from these different sites, more information. But actually, in these specific application cases, usually it's kind of classified, since this information can also be sensitive. But yeah, so all around the world, as you probably might already know, different institutions are setting up systems for basically drone detection, so that when drones are approaching a certain facility, there's these systems which effectively are able to firstly detect these drones and then also to be able to track them. But to be able to test the efficiency of these systems, it's necessary to use something like Commander, which allows to basically launch multiple drone simulated attack towards a certain structure. So this is kind of how it can be used in this case. And then, so in this screenshot, what you can see is different routes, which are constructed all around the facility. And then the drones can actually be set to, for instance, wait at some point. So this could work like this, that they all take off, fly to certain, let's call them holding points, where they wait for some amount of time. And then at some point, they all start moving towards the main structure or the main building. And the idea is that, so can the system detect a high amount of drones, or can it, for instance, detect 1, 2, or what if it's 10 or 20 drones? So how many targets can it track simultaneously? And also, for instance, when the drone enters, and if it then, let's say, flies over and exits, so at what point does the system start to detect the drone, and at what point does it stop detecting the drone? And of course, there's some other systems which also are not only to basically detect them and track. There's other systems which are also designed for bringing the drones down. But again, that's kind of classified information. Then another question I see. So can the flight be done in a sequence or parallel? So actually, yeah, you can. You have a lot of flexibility here, because it all depends on what kind of routes have you set up with UgCS. You can also launch the drones in groups. So this means, for instance, if, as you can see here on the side of the screen, you can have, let's say, 3 drones selected. For instance, launch the first 3, and then depending on what you have in the mission, you can, for instance, have the drones circle around. So the routes themselves, you're only limited to essentially how long can that specific drone stay up in the air. So this means the route can be anything you need. This can be just straight line flights. So this mission that's here, it's actually quite simple. But you can have, for instance, orbits around. You can have perimeters that the drone, for instance, patrols. And yeah, so there's a lot of flexibility there. In case you want, so yeah, when one drone lands, that another drone takes off. It's not really automated currently. So something like that for now. If you, for instance, want some system where, let's say, you fly with some first 2 drones, then as soon as they're landed, then the next ones are launched. So now you would have to do this manually, but still with Commander, it's Commander allows to do that essentially, because if you wanted to do this through normal UgCS, it's very, very hard to coordinate, especially the more drones you have, the harder it is to do such things with UgCS. If you have just 2 drones, totally doable, I'd say. But if you have something like already, I'd say 5 is where it probably even gets hard. So 5, 6, and then it's already kind of the point where you need to consider, okay, with Commander, you can do this a lot more efficiently. But yeah, if you want to automate something like that, so for instance, when you have some system where some drones fly, when they land, the next ones take off, we can actually help also with this automation. So we do some also custom projects. So if you're interested, you can drop us a message, and then we can talk with you in more detail. But yeah, so anyways, one of the applications of UgCS of Commander is testing counter-drone systems. And now another one would actually be doing multi-drone surveys. So with Commander, one of the things you get is that you are able to have multiple drones simultaneously fly a survey, which effectively just allows you to speed it up, because instead of, let's say, having one drone flying the whole survey for, let's say, 1 hour, just as an example, you can have 2 drones flying simultaneously do that in 30 minutes. And this is just a simple example. So of course, when you have a really, really large area, then you can have, for instance, 4, 5 drones flying simultaneously. You can monitor all of their telemetry data. You can send them commands from here. So you can just select which drone you need. So typically, you would be running kind of this in parallel. So you would have one screen with UgCS and then another screen with Commander. And so there's also different setups how people are using this. So you, for instance, can either have, if you have a larger computer somewhere, with normal monitors, you can just use 2 separate monitors. You can also use them in a single screen. And in fact, you can even, if you're in the field setting, you can just use 2 laptops. Because Commander, it's actually tied to the server of UgCS. And UgCS server, it's installed locally on the computer where UgCS is installed. So this means that you, for instance, first you install UgCS on, let's say, laptop number 1, you activate it with Commander license, and then on laptop number 2, which is on the same network you install and open up Commander, and then just point it to the IP address of laptop number 1. And so you can have both of them running side by side. Yeah, so that's kind of for multi-drone surveys, how you can speed this up and yeah, essentially be able to collect data way faster. This goes for vertical inspections, for just normal flights. This can be lidar, photogrammetry. So again, whichever mission you have constructed in UgCS with Commander, you can speed it up. So the next point would be more for actually search and rescue, I would say, because also what you can see here is in fact the video stream. So if we quickly go back to different licenses we have, so actually one of the advantages of the enterprise license is the fact that you can not only specify where is the server, and you can do this sort of direct connection. And what I mean by that is, let's say if you have a server set up on, let's say some even remote computer, then UgCS for DJI mobile app, which we use to connect DJI drones, you can point that to that IP address of that specific server. On Pro and Expert licenses, we don't really have this feature. So Pro is just for normal users flying photogrammetry, vertical inspections. Expert adds on top of that lidar possibility, as well as ability to use the Smart AGL, Advanced Torrent Following. And then Enterprise is more for companies who want to, for instance, have a UgCS server set up, in their office, so it's running centralized. So effectively, you can create your own cloud where you store all the routes, all the telemetry information, and so any pilot who is in the field, they can simply connect to that server over a VPN by specifying the address in there. And you can have with Enterprise, also have multiple pilots, but you don't have the possibility to control multiple drones at the same time as easily as you have with Commander. But with Enterprise and Commander, so what you get is you get also the video streaming function. And so what does the video streaming function mean, and how does it work? So let's now kind of, after this a brief intro, let's go to that. So here you can essentially see 3 different software applications running side by side. So all of these are again running on Windows. So first, of course, you can see UgCS screen for flight planning. Then next, you can see Commander interface, which you already saw before. And then this is our video player. So the video player and the video tools, they actually come as a package with our enterprise license. So when you buy the enterprise, then you actually also get the ability to do video streaming. So video streaming, one of the typical questions we get is, so for which drones this is supported? So currently one of the top drones people are using with this is the M300, but it's also supported for Mavic 2 series. So Mavic 2 Zoom, Pro, Enterprise Advanced, Phantom 4, M200, and also, in fact, if you're using some non-DJI drones, so again, using ArtPilot or PX4, so these drones can also be set up so that when you get the video on the ground, we have a separate app which is called the video transmitter, and this can then provide video here. So our system is used actually in some locations where there's different command centers where people need to be able to see video coming from the drones. So if you're interested in this specific setup of having a live video stream coming in from your drones, then you can, of course, always drop us a message. We can explain you more about this, show you some demo. Also, another thing, by the way, is that we have in UgCS, one thing we're maybe not advertising as much, there's also ability to control the drones as well as payloads using the joystick. So it's also an interesting thing, especially for guys who are doing these kind of flights. Let's say for search and rescue scenario, you can imagine having multiple different surveys, having multiple drones up in the air at the same time. So each of these drones can also stream video. So you are receiving video. You are also able to send commands to the drone simultaneously. And so that's kind of one of the scenarios. And by the way, the videos can also be then streamed to some other platforms. So I know there's a lot of different applications you guys are interested in, and one of them is also ability to send video as the drone's up in the air, send it to some other third-party server, where then the video can be also used for instance, put in some machine learning algorithm where it can detect certain features. And this video, by the way, it's also geotagged. So all the locations which are here, so all of this is saved. So this means that when you replay some flight, then you also know, so what location was this filmed at exactly? So it could be something also useful. Okay, so then let's go through. There's some other questions. Let's try to answer them before we move on. So if you have more than one UgCS Pro license and you purchase Commander, do you have to renew licenses? I think in that case, if you're interested in purchasing Commander and you already have some of our licenses, we can probably offer you a bit better deal and some easier way, so you don't need to, for instance, purchase the support for each license, and we can, I think, make this a bit easier. So yeah, just drop us a message and then we can talk in more detail. Okay, then what next? Yeah, so about the offline functionality. So am I correct assuming that drones must be controlled via laptop controls rather than the RC? No, not exactly, actually. So you still control the drone normally with the RC. So using them with UgCS and Commander doesn't take away from you the ability to also always have the RC control. So for instance, some of the guys who are like recently, okay, one example where they used Commander was in Malaysia. So there was some military parade, I believe, and then one of the guys who are the dealers of DJI there. So they actually used, I believe it was 7 or 9 M300 drones flying simultaneously, controlled through Commander. So all of them, they still have their remote controllers. If you still want to take over manual control, you can do that. And yeah, so but the offline functionality, all it essentially does is it makes it possible to have maps and elevation in UgCS, even if UgCS itself does not have internet possibility. So I'll go through a few other questions and then we can go on, I suppose. There's actually quite a lot of them. I probably won't be able to answer them yet. So I think some of them I'll do in the Q&A section. Yeah, there's a question about Skydio drones and Autel drones. So yeah, for overall Skydio drones, we would like to support in UgCS, but unfortunately we can't because they're kind of closed off. So if Skydio made some SDK, which allowed us to also be able to plan missions for them, we would love to add support for them. But yeah, as far as I know, at least there's no SDK that Skydio provides. And so Autel drone support we have in UgCS, so it's possible to plan normal missions for Autel drones, but then it works in the following way that you export that to KML files, and then these KML files you put inside the Autel app. So yeah, we work together with Autel, so there might be some better solution coming soon. Maybe yes, maybe no, we'll see. But yeah, for UgCS Commander, unfortunately, we can't support Autel yet because so Commander essentially involves ability to send commands directly to the drones. So to send, for instance, upload, route, start, so all of that. So yeah, I think it should be possible though to, for instance, with some DJI drones also you can just monitor the telemetry for them. But yeah, like for Autels, if you can't send the commands through UgCS, unfortunately, they're not supported in Commander. But most drones which can be connected to UgCS are also supported in Commander. Oh yeah, another question, interesting one, by the way, is about getting the FAA waiver process. So since, like I said, we also have had experience with working with, well, one of the products we do is drone show software, which obviously involves flying multiple drones simultaneously. For example, with our customers last year, we flew the drone show at USA Super Bowl. And so we have quite a bit of experience in helping our customers get the FAA waivers and get the approvals for multi-drone flights. So if you're interested in that, yeah, also drop us a message and we can talk more. We can also provide you a trial of Commander and then consult you on how you can apply to get the waiver. But anyways, I think let's maybe move on. And I think at the end, I'll try to answer all of your questions because there are quite a lot here. So yeah, now let's maybe jump into the demo of the Commander. So I'll just stop the screen share for a while I set kind of everything up here on my screen. So just bear with me, please, and then we will be able to get started. Okay, so I think I'll probably just try to share the whole screen with you guys, so you are able to see basically both UgCS as well as Commander. So this will just be on a single monitor. So, okay. So now hopefully you should be able to see it. I'll just move the Q&A section a bit here. And yeah. So what you can see here now on the screen is number one. By the way, just disclaimer, excuse if there's any demo effect. You know that usually they say when you show demo, something can go wrong, but let's hope in this case should be fine. So what do I have here? Number one, I have UgCS open. I currently have 6 drones connected. So all these drones, they are actually simulated drones, which are run using the software in the loop. And by the way, with Commander also, we provide free training. That's included in all Commander license purchases. And so there also we will help you set up. So we'll help you make sure you can run simulated drones. So this means also when you, for instance, want to run some, let's say, if you're, for instance, testing counter drone systems, we can help you make sure that you can run the simulation first before you do the real flight, and that also the timing between the drones is correct, so that you know that, let's say, all of the drones will, for instance, enter the airspace of some facility at the same time, or also making sure so what actions you need to do to be able to fly the drones correctly in groups. And yeah, so going back here, so yeah, like I said, I have 6 drones connected simultaneously. So all of these drones are based on the Autopilot platform currently. And the missions I have set up for them, they're actually very simple. So just each mission has 2 waypoints, 1 waypoint at the very beginning and 1 waypoint at the end. So they would just kind of fly out. So I just set up this very simple example, but of course, this can be extended to more complicated missions. This can be extended to also more drones. So I just, for now, using 6 drones, but you can use 10, 20, as many drones as you need. So then how to get started. So with all the drones already here on the ground, we can see we have all the missions planned. So we have currently 6 separate routes. And now we can already move on into the Commander interface. So Commander interface, it looks like this. This is already what you saw probably previously in the presentation. And so then typically step number 1 would be that for each of the drones that you have, you would first select the route which you want to fly. So each drone needs to have a separate route selected. One example also would be if you, for instance, want to fly some larger area scan mission that's planned in UgCS. So actually this mission, you can, for instance, let's say split in 2. So if you want, let's say for one drone to start the mission from, let's say, point number 1, and the other drone to start the mission from the middle. So also you can set this up very easily, because in UgCS you can do a lot of this manipulation with routes, so a lot of customization as much as you need. So any mission you have planned, you can easily convert to waypoints, you can merge them, split them, so whatever you need, it is possible. So yeah, then with all the drones here, you set up all the routes. So you just make sure each drone has a route assigned to it. You can see now currently all of them are in disarmed and manual state. And yeah, then basically you can click, well, firstly we click here typically on calculate the route, but in this case the routes have already been calculated before. And then once they all, because typically they first show up in red color the first time. And so yeah, then once all the routes are calculated, you would press on upload route. And so then all of the routes are being uploaded to the drones. Once they are all uploaded, then you'll see this message that just saying you everything's successful. You can, if you go, by the way, back here into UgCS interface, you are actually able to see that all of these commands are being sent. So whichever command you issued through Commander, this will also be reflected in the UgCS log. So in this case, it shows the commands sent for all drones, also indicating, so to which drone was this sent. And by the way, if you, for instance, want to filter out, let's say, commands for some specific drone, you can, for instance, type in 106, and this now shows all the commands which were sent to drone number 106. And yeah, so then once all the routes have been uploaded, then essentially the next command for these drones is to first do arm. And you can see here also in the mode tab, now this has fully switched to green color, indicating all of these drones are armed. And then next is you can execute auto mode here. And so now the drones are taking off. Let's see, we might get some proximity warnings because I was setting this up before. So again, like I said, proximity warnings can be adjusted depending on the settings. If I have set this up the way I remember, then I think we shouldn't be getting any now. but you will see proximity warnings later on. Well, drones will be coming back. So as soon as some drone is coming back and it's approaching another one, then these warnings will be issued. So in this case, you can see that all of them are sort of moving away from each other. And in this case, so you can see there's no warnings. And also actually can see that even though Commander is not really designed for having very accurate time synchronization, in this case, actually, it was, I'd say, close enough. And yeah, you can see there's a few warnings here. But yeah, so you can see these drones, they arrive a bit later than the others, but overall, it's essentially more or less the same. So when you click on any command and try to send it through Commander, so of course, due to simply technical level, on technical level, it still sends the commands sort of in a few batches to the drones. So they're not exactly sent at the same time, but there's essentially some millisecond delay between that. And of course, also each drone's autopilot, it can work a bit differently depending on what sensors, what are the sensors showing. So that's why also you can get, a few second differences between the drones here and there. And yeah, so for instance, what you can do now is, let's say we can take, instead of controlling all the drones, we can, let's say, take only 2 drones separately. So let's say for these 2, we can execute the land command. And so now, so these 2 drones will start to land. So it's drone number 101 and drone number 102. So you see that these 2 guys, they're already now going down for landing. By the way, here in the background, you can see this is a no-fly zone that I have set up there. And that's also one of the features of UgCS, that you can set up no-fly zones around certain areas. And then you can have the drone, for instance, skip that area. It can fly above it automatically and then lower itself back down once it has crossed that area. So yeah, once these 2 drones are landed, then for instance, for a few others, let's say drone number 3 and 4, we can now execute the return home action. Here we might get some proximity warning since the drones will be kind of headed towards one another. So yeah, you can see, so software automatically detects once 2 drones are approaching one another and gives you warnings. So that in case of anything, well, first you can check, so what's the distance between both drones? And next is, if you want to, you can of course always press on hold. So this will hold the drones wherever they are moving. And then you can always take over manual control with a remote controller if that's needed. Or you can, for instance, issue other commands such as return home, land. And as an example, you can also even execute commands individually. So if you, let's say, just want this one drone to return back home, you can also send command to just this one drone. Well, I think you guys probably get the general idea of how this works. Yeah, so what else is here in Commander? What I can show you. So yeah, you have the ability to reload vehicle list when you need to. So this just gets the updated vehicle list from the UgCS server. You can also load a new mission. So the way this works is that in UgCS, we have missions and we have routes. So within one mission, we have typically multiple routes, especially for Commander missions. So then that's kind of how you can switch between them in case you had that question. So you can simply go here into actions, then load new mission, and then you can choose which mission you want. And then this route list, which is available here, so then this will change depending on what routes are inside of that mission. You can also use set servo commands. So for instance, if the drones are equipped with some servo motors, then you can set this. And so why is this important? This means that this can also be used for different custom applications. If you, for instance, need the drones to go to some location and drop some payload, then you can also do that. So you can set, like press the set servo command, and then the drone, once it reaches a certain point, it can execute some action that is needed. So if it has some custom payload, it has to drop, or maybe just it needs to turn on an LED light once it reaches a certain threshold, reaches a certain point, then also this can be done through here. And actually for instance, autopilot drones, when you're planning the mission, this in fact can be automated as well. So this means, let's say when drone reaches this point, if you want to have some, let's say, visual confirmation that the drone has reached that point, you can add a set servo action here. And you can add this for all of certain points so that you know, okay, once the drone has reached this point, for instance, some LED underneath the drone will come on. Or if you want the drone to, for instance, if it's, let's say, used in something like drone delivery, you can also have the drone, for instance, go to some certain location and then release some payload. Yeah, Yeah, so then that's actually kind of it about the servo. What else? Yeah, you can have the mode switch, ability to adjust the last point if needed. You can reboot the vehicles through here also. That can be quite important. You can switch the flight mode again through here. You can switch to manual mode. You can also see the logs here. So yeah, when you need, for instance, see again the same proximity warnings and so on. So essentially the same information which you are getting in UgCS. In case you're using Commander on a separate computer, separate screen, you also have all this information right here. And then in the options also, of course, you can customize certain things. So you can, for instance, say, okay, should there be confirmations for certain actions such as ARM, auto mode, and so on. So these are the default settings. But then, of course, if you need to, then you are free to modify that. So I'm just going to quickly now run through if we have any questions which have been added. Yeah, there's a question about I think that's a question on YouTube. Yeah, different details and practical use. So how can different drones be utilized when they're flying simultaneously? So this, I'll have a slide on this as well in just a moment. So very many questions actually. I'm just trying to get through all of them. So yeah, one thing that's kind of important to stress, I think, is that so in this case, what I'm showing you, this is not what you would call a typical swarm. So, in swarm operations, usually there is a lead drone and there are follower drones. But this doesn't mean that this can't be used for something like that. So as long as the swarm is configured on the drones, that let's say certain drones are keeping, following one drone, then actually what you can do, you can have this one lead drone, which is flying a mission, and then from other drones, you can simply get some telemetry information. As long as they're connected to UgCS, then this can also be done. But if you have some idea for also custom swarm operations, and also, of course, get in touch, we can discuss and see how can we help you with that. Because yeah, communication between drones also is possible. So yeah, again, I won't be able to probably answer all the questions you guys have, but then there will be contacts where you can reach us on the Commander landing page. I'll show this to you in just a moment on the presentation, and then we can talk in more detail, set up some call in case you're interested in discussing some more details on multi-drone control. Then, okay, let's see what other questions are there. Yeah, okay, I think we can probably then go back to the presentation I have. So let me just quickly, I'll stop the screen share, and then let's jump back into the presentation. So let me open this up. And okay, so you should again be able to see it. And then now let's just go over a bit through the different features which Commander has. So number one, and this is sort of the advantage, I guess you would say, Commander has over other UgCS licenses, is that Commander has an unlimited amount of how many drones you can connect, meaning that there's no sort of license limitation for that. So as many drones as you need to control with Commander, you are able to do that. Yeah, so then that's one of the key things here. Next is ability to see the drone status, see the telemetry. So that's also what you guys already just now saw in the demo. You can select routes per vehicle, as well as you can, of course, calculate and upload the routes from a single press of a button. Because if you would be trying to do the same thing through UgCS, it would be a lot more complicated without Commander. So I would say that for any application which involves multi-drone control, Commander would be the best way forwards. Then, of course, simultaneous launch of the drones. So if you want the drones to take off at the same time, or even just take off in certain groups, normally you would have to execute these commands for each drone separately and make sure this is all synchronized. Commander essentially just automates all of that. So you just select which drones you need on the screen, press launch, and those drones just take off and start flying their missions. Yeah, next then, ability to hold and continue missions at any point. So this could be, for instance, let's say for the application where drones need to stop at a certain point, and then from there continue towards, let's say, some main facility or some main target. Next, ability to send different emergency commands. So land, return home, hold, and disarm. Then also ability to do video streaming. And while this, for instance, for the anti-drone systems test is not that popular, but for other applications such as the search and rescue scenario, or maybe even some other scenarios you guys might have in mind. So this also could be very interesting and useful. And then, of course, the ability or the functionality which Commander kind of takes over also from UgCS Enterprise is the ability to do centralized installation, meaning that the server is set up centrally in your office and that all of the flight plans can be easily synchronized between pilots, and also simultaneously all the missions which the pilots are flying while connected to UgCS. These are also all saved, and so this telemetry data can later be easily accessed, shared with different platforms where, different drone fleet management platforms. And yeah, so this is actually kind of the main overview of that. And then going a bit back into different applications. So just to kind of summarize. So firstly, Commander can be used for anything that involves multiple drone flights and for speeding up surveys and mapping. Then search and rescue operations I mentioned, and actually one of the main applications here is testing counter-drone systems. And there are other potential applications which maybe haven't really been explored that much. So this can be, for instance, drone delivery. This can be some centralized management of a large drone fleet. So any operation where more than one drone is required to be up in the air, I believe there's something very useful that Commander can bring to that. And yeah, so in case you're interested in this, so what are the next steps? So one of the next steps is you can visit the main landing page of Commander. So just type in sphengineering.com/Commander and you'll be taken there. I'll also just in a moment put it up on the screen. If you're already ready to purchase, you can just go ahead and go through to our web shop. So shop.ugcs.com or shop-usd.ugcs.com if you want to get to our USD shop. And yeah, you can also just, by the way, scan this QR code. This will also take you to the landing page of Commander. So in the Commander page, you just get some. This is all of this stuff I already kind of covered here. But yeah, it also mentions a bit about what drones are currently supported and so on, what are the benefits. And yeah, then actually one of the main things here would be this forum. So if you are then interested in getting in touch with us, being able to try Commander for some time, see how it works for your operations, then you can just fill out this form, leave your details, and then we can get in touch with you. Also, similarly, if you just have some more questions you might want to discuss with us over call, maybe some very interesting project, also don't be shy, fill out the form, and then we can talk in more detail after. Yeah, I think then this actually kind of brings us to the end of this and to the Q&A. So please, any questions that you have, make sure to write them. I'll try to check. Since we're doing multiple platforms, it's a bit complex to check everything, but I can have this one place where I'm checking all the comments from you. So let's see what are the questions which I could currently answer. So just give me a second. Or maybe just briefly stop the screen share, but we're going to jump back to it in just a moment, because also I think there were some questions that you guys actually left when registering for this, so we can try to see if we can maybe go a bit over them. So I'll just quickly again share the screen. So let's just put maybe this one on the screen. So just so you have the QR code if you need to. And then I'll try to go through some of the questions so I can answer them. So yeah, I hope I at least covered. So how do you manage multiple drones with Commander in this webinar? Okay, so yeah, biggest hurdle as for somebody doing multi-drone operations, they're probably ensuring the safety, I would say, and being able to easily control them at the same time. And that's something that I think Commander really helps with. And again, just a reminder about, we also do free training that's included in the Commander license for you and your team. And so then if you want to also understand, for instance, how to run simulated drones, how to plan different missions in UgCS, on how to, exactly do what you need for your project, then also we are here and we will help with all of that to anybody who's interested in Commander. Yeah, does this work with Mavlink Autopilot? Yes. So also this does work, like I said, with PX4 and Autopilot systems. And in fact, Autopilot, I'd say, is one of the most popular systems that's currently being used with Commander. And this, of course, also includes all the Cube autopilots. So then let's see. Yeah, so if you have, there's another question that involves, so how do you fly if you have multiple obstacles nearby? I would say that, well, from flight planning standpoint, you can utilize the no-fly zones, for instance, to mark out obstacles. So these could be towers, and these could be towers, trees, and so on. So you can put no-fly zones around all of them, and so then when you are doing the route planning, this will all be taken into account. Yeah, another question that we have is about drone swarming and ability to have one drone follow another drone. So again, Commander doesn't do exactly that, but it can be used to aid in those scenarios. So if you have this kind of system set up on the drones, then this is also possible. But if you have some idea of interesting project for a drone swarm operation, then also let us know and we can talk in more details. And yeah, another question there is about the FAA. So like I said, we have quite extensive experience in obtaining the FAA waivers for multi-drone operations, so we can also assist with that. Another actually interesting question is about the possibility of integrating this with fixed-wing UAVs. So in fact, UgCS does support fixed-wing UAVs actually since the beginning. If we're talking about autopilot or PX4 based fixed wing or VTOL aircraft, then this actually can be controlled through Commander. So yeah, this can also actually be used for that. Okay, then let's see. What other questions I can maybe answer now? I'll check also if there's gonna be something new here in Zoom. Oh yeah, so there's also a question about, so what are the drones which are compatible with Commander? So let's go to our website here, and so this is just UgCS site, not Commander, but on UgCS site, so we have all the drones which are currently supported by UgCS. So going through them, in general, I would divide them like so. So there are all DJI drones we support. And here also there's a bit of nuance. So how you can use certain drones with Commander. So most of the older DJI drones, so M300 and going backwards from that, so then Phantom 4s and so on. So these you typically would connect to UgCS and therefore also to Commander using UgCS for DJI mobile app, which is also available here for download. So that's how you would connect those drones. With the newer drones, so M350, Mavic 3 Enterprise, and M30. So for these drones, if you just use Pilot 2, you won't be able to control them. However, so now actually we are working and soon we'll release the beta version of our new Android app that's called Sky App. So Sky App is actually more meant for, at least currently, for our customers using integrated systems, so with true terrain following and different geophysical sensors. But actually, what Sky App also does is it unlocks the ability to send commands to these drones directly. So this means if you have some application where you want to use M350, M30, or Mavic 3 Enterprise series drones with Commander, so where you want to do them on multiple drone missions, then actually Sky App unlocks that. So I would say currently all DJI drones, they can be used with UgCS Commander. So all drones which are in this list currently. Only exception here would be small DJI drones. So we have had also questions about, so can, for instance, DJI Mini 3 be used through this? So currently we don't have, it doesn't support waypoint functionality. So all these small drones which are not in this list, those we can't support. But everything in this list, I'd say this can be used with UgCS Commander. And as far as other drones, so kind of these commercial off the shelf. So this means A-Score drones, Aurelia, anything based on CubePilot. Then there's Drone Base, FreeFly. So essentially all of these Autopilot / PX4 / Auterion based systems, these can be connected to UgCS. And if these can be connected to UgCS, this can also be used with UgCS Commander. Okay, another interesting question. So if this has been used in security and perimeter patrols. So for UgCS has been used for doing security, private security, as well as doing perimeter patrolling. Actually, maybe for that question, it could be interesting for me to just quickly show a flight plan to you guys. So I'll maybe do a new share. Let's go just UgCS screen currently, because I think it could be interesting to just show you so how you can set up certain, let's say, perimeter surveillance. So I think there was some stadium near this location. Yeah, it just looks like some baseball stadium. So how would you go about that? So let's then maybe start by just adding a new route here, and let's, for instance, plan it for the Ardocopter drone, but other drones can be used, of course, as well. And actually, in UgCS, one of the flight planning tools we have is the perimeter tool. And what's interesting about the perimeter is that you can actually have drones constantly fly in multiple circles, or, well, not exactly circles, because essentially they can do multiple loops around a certain perimeter. I guess that's the best way to put it. So for instance, what we see here is we have this baseball stadium, we have some parking lot. And so for instance, what you can do and how you can set this up, let's maybe specify flight height of, for instance, something like, let's do 15 meters, for instance. And then let's say if you want to, for instance, have the drone patrol around here, you can set up one perimeter in this location, just as an example. And then here, you can actually change how many laps you want the drone to do. So for instance, if you just want the drone to maybe even not that fast, you want it to fly slower, let's say 2 meters a second. If you want to just, go on this sort of patrol, then you can easily do this with the perimeter tool. So you just set up how many laps you want the drone to do, what you want to be the speed. You can also see, so what's the total estimated flight time? So this would probably cover all of the drone's battery in this case. And yeah, so you can have, for instance, one perimeter set in this location, and then you can have another perimeter set up in another location. So let's say if you want one drone to patrol the stadium, maybe you want another drone to patrol the perimeter that's here. So you can also set up these surveys. So where would this be applicable is, let's say if you have some mass event and you know that you want drones to patrol certain areas and you want to automate that aspect, you can actually easily do that with UgCS. So you can have, for instance, multiple ground pilots who don't even need to plan the missions. They just need to be in a certain location. This could even be, for instance, used in law enforcement. So we also actually, I can't share a lot of details, but we do have some people who work in law enforcement who are also using UgCS for their operations. So yeah, for instance, you can have some, I would say, person or security personnel here, let's say in their vehicle. They just need to set up the drone. They can have the remote controller automatically connect to UgCS server, which is running even somewhere else, maybe even offsite. And then the drone can simply be easily launched on this mission where it just, keeps slowly patrolling. And another useful feature, by the way, is that during the automated flight, it's possible for any remote operator, which can, again, be located anywhere. So this could be even, out of state. This could be a different country. They can also monitor the camera of the drone. So this is limited to which drones can you use with this just small disclaimer. But there are drones with which you can also receive live video feed coming in, and you can also actually control them through joystick. So for instance, if you need, so let's say if you're flying somewhere and just, want the drone to stop, you want, for instance, move the drone's camera. So this you can actually also do with the UgCS. So you can have some operator sitting in, let's say, some control room with the joystick. He can press hold command on the drone and then move around the drone's camera, zoom in on certain locations. Maybe there's some suspicious vehicle coming into the area. So all of these scenarios can be used together with UgCS Commander. Yep, and I think then maybe let's also see any other questions if we have any. But yeah, by the way, in case, well, not in case, but I know there's some questions I just don't have time to answer currently, but we'll publish this recording on YouTube, and then all of the questions you guys will have, we will also answer them in the comments. And we'll try to reach out to you personally. If there's some interesting project, then we can also, we're willing to discuss it in more details with you and see how can we help you achieve what you want. But yeah, I think that that's probably it for this webinar. So I think that was the sort of the main information I wanted to cover. I'll just very quickly then jump my screen share back to the main slide that's here. So yeah, if you guys want to get in touch with us, talk more about Commander, test it out, or maybe even just test out UgCS Enterprise or any other license we have, you can also scan this code. This will take you to our site. You can then fill out the form, and we can talk in more details about Commander. So yeah, all the information is there. If you want to just try out UgCS, so you can also do that by going here and taking a trial of UgCS. This will just allow you to get the better, sense of how you can just plan normal flights in it. In fact, if you even maybe don't want to just start any formal trial, you can just go ahead and download UgCS and install. You will be able to plan your routes even without any license. You can just test out how route planning works. Yeah, so then in case you have any questions, like I said, just reach out to us, and we're more than happy to help. We're very interested in what interesting projects you guys have in mind. So yep, then let's maybe kind of try to close this off. So yeah, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for listening. Hope it was interesting for you. If you want to replay any parts, recording will be available. And yeah, let's stay in touch, and we're very excited to hear from you. So yeah, thank you.